And we are live. What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to Beyond the Nines. We've got a very special video for you today. Previewing, as you probably saw by the title, Harvey Barnes, and also all of the stuff that's come out of the press conference, which was yesterday. But first, over to you, Ant. Great to have you back. How have you been, mate?
I've been good. It's been a while. Obviously, I didn't join for the Wolves preview. I didn't get to the Wolves game. If you followed me on Twitter, you'll probably know why. Still haven't got my car back, by the way, which was over a week ago. But I'm not going to go into too much of a rant about that because I will be going until after the West Ham game if I go into a rant about my car. But apart from that, I'm absolutely brilliant.
Which is good to hear. Again, 3 points. And first time on the channel, Tom from Fox and Fancy. Again, if you want his channel, I've left it in the link in the description. Make sure you go and watch his channel afterwards. But Tom, welcome to the show, mate. How you been?
Yeah, good, mate. Good. I'm happy to be here and happy to join you. I've kind of been supporting the channel recently, and I love what you've been doing, and just happy to be on board.
And just as we mention it, hello Alex as well. That was unexpected, but yeah, welcome, mate. How you been? Perfect time, by the way.
Thanks. So I've been doing good. I just kind of got up and I saw that you guys were going live, so I thought I'd jump in.
Fair enough. No problem. Well, you're always welcome on. Right, let's get straight into it. There's something that obviously probably the biggest news this week has been the Barnes contract, Alex. So I'll hand over to you straight away with the Barnes contract. Good, probably a brilliant signing, but it's something that we've wanted for a while, and he probably needs a raise, but he's looking fantastic for this year, and the future can only be going up with him.
Yeah, no, I'm really happy with the signing, and I think that really just shows you that the club is dedicated for like not only now but for the future with that type of a signing. And you look at what Barnes had last season and the season that he had, he was doing fantastic. So with the unfortunate of the injury, I think this season you're going to see a whole new level of what Harvey Barnes can do.
I think so too. I know you cover this a bit on your channel, Tom, as well. But what do you think about? Again, it's a no-brainer really, and it's what you expect from the club to a certain extent in a good way.
Definitely, I think like Barnes, it's just an example again of how well the kind of club is run from top to bottom. And that there's kind of this commitment from the players that they're happy to tie themselves down. And the club kind of don't, we very rarely let contracts run down beyond kind of their last 2 years, unless, it's a Wes Morgan or a Fuchs, someone who is kind of on their way out naturally anyway. So, we don't leave ourselves vulnerable in the transfer market, and it allows us to command the kind of fees that we have been with, the 80 million for Maguire and so on. And I think the players also kind of trust the club that, if an offer does come in, that's the right amount from a big club, that we won't stand in their way. I know that Mahrez stayed a little bit longer than he would have liked to, but most of the players kind of when the offer's there and the money's right, we will let them move on. So yeah, just really positive. And with Barnes, I think he has come a long way especially last season. And
oh, is that my side? Is that Tom? Oh no, he's back. Okay. Sorry, I think everything's. I don't know if that was my side or whatever. But sorry, just to kind of pass over to you, and similar question. But how much can he raise his levels this year? I think last year we got 13 goals in all competitions. So, what do you think as well in terms of how far he can raise his game in terms of Barnes this season? Because what we've seen as well, he's not been at his best, but he still looks as fearless as forever.
I think for Barnes, it's about having a whole season without getting injured, and then we'll really see like a progression from him. Because at the time that he got injured, he was one of the top scoring wingers in the league. And as Brendan Rodgers mentioned in his press conference, he has got that ability to go on to be that top winger. Because at the moment, he's a very good winger, but he has got that natural ability and that work rate and that fearlessness to go on to that next level. So I think it's about having another consistent season where he's scoring goals, creating goals, and just having another very good season, like not just with his stats, but with his overall link-up play and how he's playing within the team. For then over the next few years, which to see him then really progress onto that next level. Because I think the thing to notice is it's a deal till 2025, so it's another long-term deal. So he seems like he is very much in the plans for the right here and right now, but as well for the future.
Yeah, I think so too. I think he's going to be one of the players that will take his game to the next level. We've seen a few of them, especially from the academy over the last couple of years. Hopefully Dewsbury Hall will be another good year for him this year, but he can take them levels. But going from the championship to where we are in the Premiership is a big step up We've seen players like Luke Thomas do it. We've seen obviously Harvey Barnes do it. So we'll have to come on to that. And another player that's actually come back from injury, Alex, Timothy Castagne's back. Obviously, probably with Ricardo's form and the way he beautifully took that assist against Wolves was fantastic. But it's good to see him back with his lovely, he'll be playing in the mask. But can you see him fitting into the team, this starting 11 immediately, or is he more of a squad player at the moment?
So this is difficult because last season I would say that Castagne would easily slot into the lineup. But as you said, Ricardo is playing at a level that we haven't seen him play in over a year. And he's undroppable in my opinion. And then on the other side, you have Luke Thomas. With Bertrand still being out, I think you give Luke Thomas the opportunity because in my opinion, he's done nothing wrong. And this is the type of situation where you say, hey, you're young, you've done everything right, we're going to give you the opportunity. And Castagne is just going to have to fight for a spot back. And I think that's something that we discussed last season where we were like, we don't have this. There's a couple spots here and there that we're fighting for. Players are fighting for position, but when it comes to your left back and right back, you can have Bertrand, Thomas. When James Justin is healthy, and then you have Castagne in there. It's the depth there now is insane, and I think that's one thing that we need to look at and really be grateful for is that Castagne could probably slot in on many teams here in the Premier League. And, he's going to have to fight for his spot back here.
Yeah. And again, the fact that he can play on the left and the right, I know towards the end of the last season where, especially on that left-hand side, that they chose to play Luke Thomas, which is a big statement within itself, Tom. But I think he's going to be a good player. But what can he offer that somebody like a Ricardo can't? Because it's a really hard question, I know, to put you on the spot because they're both great players, but I think they both give something slightly different to the team.
Yeah, I think just to echo what Alex is kind of saying, it just really emphasizes the strength and depth that we've got in the team, and to be talking about someone of the quality of Castagne struggling to break into this lineup just emphasizes how strong we are. And I fully agree that Ricardo, he's showing signs that he's back to his best, and for me, when he's at his best, he's easily one of the best right backs in the league, and he offers us so much going forwards. I think Castagne does that too. But we've also seen him playing on the right of the back three. That he offers a lot defensively, and the fact that he can play anywhere across the line means that it's only a matter of time before he kind of gets his chance back in the side. But I think as well that we need to bear in mind how seriously the club is taking the cup competitions and the Europa League this season, and everyone's going to get their chance, and every game matters. So we might not see him in the Premier League lineup anytime soon, but he's still a massive asset.
Yeah, I definitely think so as well. Over to you, and I think we'll start on a new. Oh, you can have a word on Castagne as well. But can you see him fit him in the team? But the thing is, one thing that he did do last year, which I don't think he's too good at, he can play in a back three. Is that something where we can potentially see him? But I'm struggling to see where he can fit in, to be honest, with Ricardo playing either wing back or in a right back where he currently is.
I hope we don't see him in a back three, because if we do, that means we've gone through a lot of injuries at centre back, if we're honest. So, he filled in there, but it wasn't ideal. And then him at left back, he could do a job, but you could tell it wasn't his natural side. Naturally on the right hand side, he looks a lot more comfortable. But unfortunately for him, he's probably got one of the most well-rounded right backs in Europe in front of him. So, in terms of us, it's what we've been calling for a while, to have that squad depth, to be able to compete, as Tom was saying, on more fronts of the cup competitions, which Brendan Rodgers takes seriously. And we want to have a proper go at the Europa League. So Ricardo won't be able to play every single game. So to have someone of Castagne's quality and calibre to be able to rotate in, I think can only be a good thing.
Yeah, and he's obviously not going to play much. We might not play much again, but as you were saying, when it comes to the cup competitions, when it comes to the Europa League, he's going to be fantastic there. And on to the next person, Johnny Evans. I mean, he's still out with that plantar fascia injury. It's really, I think that's the reason why we bought Vestergaard, Alex. However, then just not sure when he's going to be back, which is kind of I think they said potentially it could be until the international break when he's fully fit. I mean, this is an injury that he picked up a while back, but I think the first time we saw it was in the final when we played against the FA Cup in Chelsea. I mean, it's not good, but we've got Vestergaard in the back. And we've actually not got I don't think we got your perspective on it for a while, but what have you thought of Vestergaard I'll give you Vestergaard and also the Johnny Evans situation as well?
Well, the Johnny Evans injury is just really unfortunate. I feel like those are the type of injuries that you just gotta let them, you gotta let them heal, and just, you just gotta kind of keep an eye on them and watch them how they recover. And with Evans, it's taking a little bit longer than normal, as one would expect. So I think you just got to be patient with him. He's going to be fit eventually. I think you just got to bide the time and just let him get to that level of fitness that he feels comfortable. And I think when that happens, he'll be back and he'll be Johnny Evans, his normal self again. I think you just got to wait for that. But I'm really happy with how the club went out. They did the research, and they picked up a center back who is, in my opinion, really solid in Yannick Vestergaard. I think the way that I've always described Vestergaard is that he is the type of player where when Evans came into the lineup here at Leicester City, he came in as an older veteran presence, and then you had Wes Morgan, who was the older veteran presence. So now you're starting to see, Johnny Evans is taking over Wes Morgan, and now you have Yannick Vestergaard taking over Johnny Evans' position in that, line of center back veteran presence. So I think it's really great. You're going to have this veteran presence that can step in, can really, guide both, Sue and Sue, and when Fofana's fully fit. And I think that's going to also be something that's really key. And, we've only seen 30 minutes of Vestergaard play when he played in the first match of the season. And I was pretty happy with it. He hasn't really been trained a lot with the club. So, with him coming in for a performance for 30 minutes and delivering what he did, I think it's really good. I think the more training that he gets within the squad, I think it's just going to improve more and more.
Yeah, no, I agree. And just over to you, Tom, obviously on that similar kind of thing, in terms of Vestergaard, and obviously I think at the time, as Alex was saying, he only had a day training with the guys, and he was told, look, you've just got to get half an hour, do whatever you can, make sure you don't get the ball in the back of the net, you don't let the through to Kasper Schmeichel. And thankfully he did that. However, can you see him getting into the team at the moment? Because the three at the back was a little bit shaky, but can you see Vestergaard starting this game against West Ham?
I'm really in the balance. I'm not too sure. I wouldn't be surprised if Rodgers just holds out for another week or maybe until after the international break, just so that he has a bit more time to train with the team and bed in. But I think we all know that kind of Amati's a stopgap, and whilst he does come in and do a job, he did also give the ball away on a couple of occasions that led to kind of dangerous situations. And I think it's only a matter of time until we see Vestergaard and Söyüncü as the main partnership. Just to touch on Evans, I was a little bit concerned by Rodgers' reaction in the press conference yesterday. I think I underestimated the severity of this injury and also its unpredictability in terms of when someone's going to recover from it. So I'm really hoping that after the international break, Evans will be kind of back and ready to kind of come back into the team. But it is a little bit worrying, I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, I think the reason, look at the speed in a good way that they went out and replaced Fofana in that. But just kind of in that I'll get the formation up at the moment. The 4-2-3-1 that we played. Obviously, we played a slightly different three at the back formation when we played in the second half. But from that, can you see anybody changing coming into the West Ham game? Can you see anybody really changing in that perspective?
For me, I'll take Marty out because he's done it a couple of times. Defensively, he was solid, but you can't keep giving the opposition 1v1s. He got very fortunate. It went to Adama Traore, and he's got absolutely no end product. If it went to any half decent technical player, we would have conceded there. So he did. I think there was a couple of instances in the Wolves game. Defensively, he will do a job for you, but just on the ball, and if we're going to keep playing out from the back, I don't think you can have a player like Amati there who looks so uncomfortable on the ball. But apart from bringing Vestergaard in for Amati, I don't think there'll be nothing I'll change from that.
Interesting. And Alex, same question to you. Obviously, this is the 4-2-3-1 we started with. I don't have the formation. We went to three at the back as well. But against, again, it's going to be a very physical battle against a very strong West Ham team. As we know from last season, we conceded 3 goals, both home and away to them. Is there anything else that you can is there any other person you would potentially change, or just looking at the formation? Because it's going to be a tough one, in my opinion, this game.
So Amartey definitely is going to be coming out, in my opinion. I think you put Vestergaard in. I love Amartey, but I think he's a defensive liability. in some cases. And I think, when you're playing a team like West Ham, especially, I don't think you can, take those chances. And Vestergaard is more reliable. The other one, and I think I heard this just in one of the podcasts I was listening to, and it's more just like you wonder if they're just testing it during training, is why don't you put Daka in on the wing with Perez's? He's got the speed, he's got all that room. I don't think they're actually going to do it, but I would just be interested to see the possibility of that, because I know he's a striker, but he has that speed, so why not throw him on the wing if, like, say, we don't get a winger in this transfer window? But ultimately, I would just change Amartey for Vestergaard and leave it at that right now.
Yeah, no, I can see the point. To be fair, I can't see it in terms of Perez. I can see that they're both quite similar. But Tom, one thing I want to say as well is that these two players in particular, kind of as Alex was saying, Perez and Maddison, if we'll probably go into West Ham in a second, they're coming up against Dries and Souček, who are just big and in general physical presence in West Ham. Because obviously Maddison's got a bit of a hip injury, from what I'll say. Well, listen to Matt Piper, he goes, they don't really go away, so he could be available for the game. He probably is available, but they're going to be definitely pushed around a lot of the time. Is this an area of concern at all, or is that an area that we potentially need to strengthen? I know you were just saying something similar off camera.
I do think that with the options that we now have, like, there is the possibility there to bring in Samare for Maddison and play more of a flat kind of centre free in the middle, and that will give us that kind of extra physicality that, like you say, a team like West Ham with Souček and Rice, they do offer a lot. And I think that we have kind of they have caused us a lot of problems in those two games last season. So I don't think Rodgers will do it, but I think it is an option that you could potentially look at. With Perez, I think, the fact is he offers a lot in terms of defensive work rate in the attacking area. And I think that's why he's keeping his place in the team. And also he kind of allows Ricardo to bomb down the right and offer us that extra threat. So I don't think that would be worth changing. The only other consideration I had is, obviously we do have the option to play free at the back and play Iheanacho with Vardy, which I think Kelechi can consider himself quite unlucky to be out of the team. So again, I don't think he'll do it, but with West Ham's kind of attacking threat, I would also consider maybe that as an option.
Yeah, that's a good idea, actually, because there's, again, we were just talking again off camera about the strength and depth, but just in terms of that, and it's gonna be a tough game against West Ham, isn't it? Really, but is there any? We've kind of touched on a couple of people, but is there anybody from the West Ham side that you'd be like, okay, this is a guy to really look out for? Because at the back, we know Ricardo is, again, as Tom was saying, is coming back to his best, but they're going to be strong going forward, and they've carved us open multiple times, even with Johnny Evans in the team.
Yeah, the thing with West Ham is they've got a couple of brilliantly, brilliant players, like individually, but it's the team and the unit that they have, I think, that's so difficult, because how quickly they transition from defence to attack. And we saw that at the London Stadium last time, where they absolutely tore us apart on the counter-attack. They've got Antonio, who's probably not the most fashionable striker in the world, but he's a handful. He gets himself out the pitch. He'll throw himself into defenders. He'll hold the ball up and bring other people into play. So they're going to be physically right up for it. And they're one of the most physically difficult teams to play in the league. And on top of that, it's the first game back at their ground with fans as well. The fans will be right up for it. So it's got everything in favour for a West Ham win, which is why I'm quite confident that we'll go there and get a win, because every time the cards are completely stacked against us, we seem to do all right. And then when we're expected to go and perform, we don't. So weirdly, I feel more confidence for this game than I did for going into the Wolves game.
You see, I wish I could share your same sentiment. I'm feeling, as if I see Alex shaking his head, but yeah, go ahead, take it, Alex. I'm not on the boat with Ant on that at all as well.
No, I'm not confident. I'm definitely not in the boat of being we're going to lose, but I'm definitely not in confidence in the sense of we're going to win this game. I think it's going to be a very good battle, and I think this game could go either way. And I wouldn't be surprised if this game ended in a draw. I think one thing that a lot of clubs tend to forget is, West Ham have been dominant last season, surprisingly. And I don't think that's just going to stop with one season. I think you're going to see that happen again this season. So that's one of the big things that I think is going to be that a lot of supporters need to realize is that this club is good, and so I'm not going to predict because me and predictions, but I think it's going to be a good battle.
Fair enough. Speaking of predictions, we've got a video coming out on the channel very, very soon, tomorrow, in fact, where not Alex, because again, as you know, Alex doesn't do predictions, but a few people from Beyond the 90 who've been on the channel before have done their predictions about where Leicester are going to finish, including myself as well. So I'll shamelessly say that as well. So make sure you stay tuned for that one. That's coming out tomorrow. But in terms of that, obviously, that formation, Tom, it is a tough game, but I'm thinking Dawson versus Vardy. Do you know what I mean? There's something about that. I'm like, okay, if you stick Vardy on Dawson, Dawson's played alongside Johnny Evans, but he's probably a little bit slower, a little bit older. I think that's probably an area that we can get a lot of success. And also on that left-hand side, I know Kafal's a good player, but coming up, we've seen even like with Trent Alexander-Arnold dropping a couple of feet back to cover with Harvey Barnes. I think that's an area that we could get a lot of success.
Yeah, I think it is quite difficult to pick weaknesses in that starting 11 that they have when they're at full strength. Like, I do think, like you say, that Vardy can exploit that lack of pace, but I think they're probably thinking the same thing as if Vestergaard starts with Antonio. If we play a high line, we could equally get caught out there. I think like the big difference between us and West Ham. Like I think we have very similar strength in terms of our starting 11, but I looked at the benches last week, and I think that's where you can distinguish between the two clubs. Like when you look at their bench, they definitely don't have that same kind of strength and depth. And with them now in Europe this season as well, I think we've seen how difficult that can be with a thin squad. But that doesn't really help us playing them second game of the season, right? They have all their players available. The one thing I did think about West Ham earlier, West Ham away, is and I mentioned this to you, Neil, but yeah, the Premier League title winning season, our first away game and the second game of the season that year was West Ham away. And obviously Okazaki and Maris scored and we won 2-1. So maybe it's a good omen.
Let's see. Let's hope so as well. I know, and you're a bit more confident on this than us. But at the same time, I think they've got to, as Tom was saying, it's a strong team we're coming up against. And the thing is, there's certain players you're like, okay, I could take this out. But again, defensively, and probably that's where the issue is won. But in that midfield, I mean, you've got two big players in Souček and Rice versus Tielemans and Ndidi as well. So probably, I can imagine both of them are starting, probably because they're fit as well. That's going to be, do you think, again, that'll be the issue where that battle is won? Because both of them, I think, Souček and Rice were out of the previous game when we played against them last year, and they still won.
Yeah, I think with that game last year, there was a lot going around sort of that wasn't entirely football focused, and I'm not going to go into it too much because I think everyone knows what I'm talking about with Perez, Barnes, and all of that. But in terms of this game, saying about their midfield, I think if they're dominating in this midfield, and Tom mentioned it, if they're physically outdoing us in the midfield, we've got Samore who can bring on from a bench who's physically as commanding as anyone is. So to have that as an option and sort of being able to change mid-game, that could be huge, because with West Ham, as I think Alex just mentioned, they don't have that quality and depth to be able to change the game from a bench as much as we do. So say, for example, if Vardy starts and we've got Daka off the bench from 60 minutes on, we've got Samore that can come off the bench. And this is something that I was calling for last year. We need game changers off the bench. And now this year, we've got that. And for these games that on paper are going to be really tight, this could be where we see the real difference of having a proper top quality bench.
Yeah, I'm just going to try and bring their bench up now. But in terms of that, and kind of on that, Alex, there's one, I think is anything else you want to mention onto West Ham? Because again, the one thing that I'm looking at the moment is probably the right wing situation. So it's up to you. Would you like to talk a little bit about West Ham, or do you want to go onto the right wing? Because we know it's been such a good transfer window, but that is an issue that we've addressed pretty much at the beginning of the season that's still not been sorted out yet.
Well, I feel like you just kind of did make the decision right there and just started talking about the right wing situation. So I guess we're just going to go to that, right?
Yeah, I do have the substitutes as well, but yeah, you go for it.
Well, with the right wing situation, I feel like that's all we're seeing on Twitter right now. And, I think the biggest player that we've talked about has been, Noni Madueke, and that's the one player that everyone seems to be talking about. I know PSV's been asking for around 30 to 40 million pounds, I think, for the player. And if I'm correct, I believe that we've had scouts look at him or been at the PSV games. But ultimately, I don't know what's going to happen with that. I think ultimately, if you're going to be looking at getting a right winger, you need to sell a player or two. And I know there has been speculation and rumors surrounding Dennis Pratt and him wanting to, get more first team football. So if he leaves, you can probably bring in some money. But then you have to look at, okay, who else can go? Could you look at selling maybe Chowdhury or, another player? But ultimately, I think the only way that Leicester is going to be able to get in a right winger is by selling a few players. And that's ultimately is where I'm kind of sitting with this. If I looked at if someone told me that this is what our transfer window would be, I'd be blown away because realistically, our window has been spectacular. But if we manage to pull in a right winger to end off this window, it's like the icing on top of the cake. It's brilliant, and I think that right winger position, if you get the quality that we are looking at, I think it would definitely put us into the into the top tier of the Premier League right now and competing for the top.
Yeah, it's just, again, I agree. It's something that's so frustrating, Tom. But at the same time, I think a lot of us knew this going into the season, especially how Cengiz Under didn't hit the levels, especially in the second half of the season, that he probably should have as well, and we didn't end up getting him. But as Alex was saying, it's such a good transfer window. But on that right hand side, we're just lacking. I think, and we'll probably mention this. He's probably mentioned this on the show before. We're just lacking that little bit of extra where a player like that can start and we go, right, we're going to go for this game. Basically, we just need another Barnes, but on that side, maybe a bit more technical to just push us, as Alex was saying, into that top 4 position.
Definitely. Yeah, like not to try and repeat too much of what Alex just said, because I completely agree with all of it. But I think that is the icing on the cake if we can get that in. And none of us know how much left we have in the budget to spend, right? And I think that whether or not we need to get the money in to spend it, we need to get a few players out anyway. I think in centre mid we have seven central midfielders. And same, I think Pratt and Chowdhury are probably going to be top of that list to maybe go. But yeah, and the Noni Madueke thing is like, obviously it's kind of been mooted that it's dependent on whether or not they qualify for the Champions League. And obviously they lost the first leg to Benfica 2-1 last week. So maybe the stars are aligning with that. Maybe that's why they're waiting so long, because they kind of need the dominoes to fall to make that deal happen. But lastly, I think what was really interesting in the press conference yesterday was Rodgers was repeatedly said players, plural, like not just player. He seems very kind of adamant that they want more than one, and the kind of obvious one, I suppose, would be another centre back, which would leave us a bit heavy in the centre back field in our squad. But in terms of this season, with Fofana and Evans, being out potentially for the foreseeable future, maybe we'll see 2 come in.
We'll have to see about that. And that was literally my next question, and just to put it in the comments as well. Speaking about multiple players, guessing another centre back, and we won't speak on the right position because we've done so many talks on this over the summer as well. But quick question: can you see he is signing anybody else this window? Because it's I think 10 days it is now. So it's going to be pushing it fine. And even if I think this kind of time or towards the end of the window, we signed Fofana, but that's been ticking over for a while this time last year. However, is there anybody? Can you see anybody else coming in terms of a centre back or a right back? Sorry, right wing.
I can, and there's a couple of reasons for it, because we headed into the window obviously before Fofana's injury with the right wing as being openly being a priority from the club. And so there'll be frameworks that's been done around certain players and trying to get deals done. Also, I can't see Brendan Rodgers going out in a press conference saying I need players and then not getting players in, because he's proper put the pressure on the board to go and get the players that he wants by doing that. And I can't see him doing that and then making it look like he hasn't been backed. So I almost think that was tactically very clever from Brendan Rodgers, saying that he needs players, and now almost, not that the board wouldn't have acted on it, but he's almost put the pressure on them, but they have to now.
Yeah, potentially. But again, just to your point as well, he did the same thing last season and it backfired where he only got Timothy Castagna. At the time, it was Timothy Castagna, Wesley Fofana. I think that. Oh no, Cengiz Under on loan as well.
It was the January transfer window as well, wasn't it? Where he said
Yes.
that he wanted an attacking midfielder. Sorry, a midfielder for depth. He went after Maitland-Niles. They didn't want to loan him to us. And now all of a sudden they're trying to send him to us the first opportunity we can get. But we won't get into that too much. But it was Chalobah as well. Look, nailed on that we were going to sign Chalobah, and then it didn't happen. So it has happened before, but I think him doing it with over a week left in the window, so there's still time. I think that's the difference between this time and last time, where he said it on the last day of the window. So it's almost he's given him the time and sort of made it clear that he does want additions to the squad.
Yeah, I think as Leicester fans we do, Alex, as well. However, just on that as well, can you see anybody else coming in? And if it is it going to be on loan or is it going to be a permanent move? Because time is running out now. We've had a long season to try and get this sorted.
So one of the other things that I noticed when he was speaking yesterday was that it was more confidence. Like, it wasn't like he just kind of like casually was like, oh yeah, we want to bring multiple players in, a couple more players. And he really did say like, oh no, we're looking at a few more players. And I don't know, there was a difference on how he spoke yesterday compared to in the January window, where he was kind of like, yeah, we'd like to bring a couple more players in, if we can. But yesterday he was very much more in the sign of like, no, we want to bring more players in. Like, this is like, we have a goal here. Now, I think the one area that I think that you need to possibly add in is, we've all mentioned, is the center back role, is especially with Fofana and Evans being in. So then you look at, what are your options? I don't think they're going to be in a position to buy, but, from a club. I just don't think the funds are there, and especially if they're going to go for a right winger, they need to, save the funds for that. I don't think there's going to be a loan, but I honestly would consider Gary Cahill. He's a free agent. He's a free agent. So, like, even if you sign him in for a year or whatnot, he brings that veteran presence. And, if the worst comes that Evans is out for long term, you have this veteran presence, that can slot in when need be. And it won't cost you.
Is that Cahill?
Yeah, Cahill.
He signed for Bournemouth. Oh
my goodness! This
it only just happened. I thought the same, Alex. I was thinking the same, but
this is what happens when you live under a rock for a week. Okay, so scratch everything I just said. Dang. Okay, then you got to go look for a loan player.
Yeah.
Backtrack.
It's a weird one, loan player. Sorry, and you go.
To be fair, now we've got Vestergaard in as that more experienced centre-back, which I know I've been like crying about all summer, saying that we need to get another more experienced centre-back in. Now I wouldn't be opposed to bringing in Kabak. Now we've got that experienced centre-back, because Kabak, Schalke have still got him and look like they're still trying to flog him off for anything. So if we were to bring him in on loan, potentially with the option to buy him if he does well, if not, send him back next year, just as that fourth choice centre back, that if he plays, like, that it's very unlikely that he'll play. But Schalke are desperate to get rid of him, and now we've got Vestergaard. The level of experience and like having a young centre back partnership doesn't worry me as much because it won't be that, like when we were saying him before, but he'll come in and be a first teamer. Now, if he comes in, it'll be very much as that rotation role.
What do you think, Tom, on that?
I think a loan, especially with an options buy, makes a lot of sense. I think, like I say, if we brought someone in on a permanent, we would then be overloaded with centre backs when everybody's fit again. So, just having a loan to cover us for this season, especially with them being third or fourth choice, makes a lot of sense to me. And I wouldn't be opposed to Kabak. I think, like everyone else, I didn't want him as our kind of number one priority at centre back, and I'm glad he isn't. But yeah, in terms of the kind of financial deal that we could probably get him on for just a year to tie us over, it might not be a bad idea.
Yeah, Alex, I saw your opposite reaction to Tom's as well. Take it away. What do you think? Because I'm kind of with these two. It makes sense. He's not going to be a main player. He's not the best, but he was thrown into a really hard Liverpool situation as well. So, what do you think? Why are you opposed to it?
See, the thing that I don't think Kabak would be a bad option. And that's the one thing that I agree with. The problem that I have with it, and it's just from like reports that I've read about him, is that he wants first team football. And I don't see him coming to Leicester even on a loan deal if he's not going to get that. And that's the big thing for me, is that you need to look for a player who is willing to be patient and get the chances when he's going to be given them, but not coming in expecting first team football, because that's what I think Kabak wants. Is he wants that first team experience and like I'll get to play most of the games, but he's not going to get here at Leicester. You know, he might play a lot of the cup games and the Europa League games, but I don't think he's going to get into the Premier League side, you know, with the options we have. So that's my worry, and I just don't see it happening.
I get what you mean, but as also it's coming to a point now where beggars can't be choosers. He's coming towards the edge of a cliff in terms of his contract with Schalke. He wants first team football, but he's literally go, okay, if you don't get there, then you're going to be literally a free agent and he's going to be kicked off. So he's going to play no football at all. So do you not think that could be the case, Alex, where we'd be like, okay, well, fine, I'll take it. And again, we're in a good position. We develop players. He knows Soyuncu. So there is things in that perspective. We go, okay, we can get a play, we can get him in, but it's kind of like, because again, the window is closing for both teams.
Yeah, and like, at the end of the day, we are in the driver's seat. Like, he's literally just holding on to a rope and he's dangling over a bunch of sharks in the water, you know, just holding on, hoping that he's going to survive. Like, that's basically what's going on. And we're just one of the sharks being like, you drop, we don't care. Like, it's pretty blunt, but that's the situation that he's in. And we're just like, we'll just keep waiting. And eventually, if this comes to fruition, then awesome. But I'm not really, too concerned in the sense that if we do get him, we get him, and if we don't, we don't. I think there's other options out there that we're definitely looking at, and I think that's the one thing that I always seem to forget is that Leicester is not only just looking at one player. I think they have a multitude of players that they're probably observing and looking at right now, and I think that is just one of the players in this big bowl of players that we've observed over the past 6 to 8 months.
Yeah, I think so. Again, we'll have to wrap it up here because again we could talk about this forever, but there's so many things. There's one more thing I want to talk about. Alex, hand over to you first in terms of Tielemans' contract. Is he going to sign a new contract before the window ends? Go.
Definitely going to sign. I think that if he was going to leave, he'd be gone by now. And with the window closing in, it's just only a matter of time before we see a new Tielemans contract come in. And if that's just to keep him for another season, then awesome. But I definitely think that with all the acquisitions and all the transfers that we've brought in this summer, I think that's just another motivation for him to stay.
Yeah, potentially. Tom, same question to you. Tielemans, I know we've not touched on it a lot, but it's coming towards the end. It looks like pretty much there isn't anybody coming for him, especially at this point in the window. So do you think he's going to sign the contract and probably before the end of the window, right?
I think so, yeah. I think he's kind of got a home here now, right? We all appreciate him as like the key player in that team, really. And he's still young, he's still got plenty of years ahead of him. So there's no rush for him to move on. I don't think, we've shown that he can even win trophies here. Like there's no need for him to be anywhere else at this moment in time. So yeah, I think he'll sign, and then I think in maybe 2 years' time, then it, we might see him move to a really kind of big club. And I think the other one is, if I'm not mistaken, Soyuncu has 2 years left on his contract, so I would quite like to see him kind of tied down as well this season at some point.
Yeah, I think there was quite a few. I think in Didi's 2023, Ricardo's 2023 as well. So there's quite a few. But and again, just onto the Tielemans thing, after these two, the previous two have said something, pretty much looked like he's going to sign a new contract, right? And again, that's going to be a big indication for the club that if he is to go, sure, it's going to be a lot of money, but also that would be a really good signing for our window.
Yeah, for me, it wouldn't surprise me at all if the transfer window shuts with any signs of a deal, because he's very happy at Leicester, and that's been stated, but he's also open to going on to that next challenge, which I think you can't really blame him for too much. Like, as much as Leicester fans want to see him stay, obviously, because he's absolutely quality player. It wouldn't surprise me if he waits till the end of the window to sign it, just in case like one of the big boys does come in for like a panic buy kind of thing towards the end of the window. But if he does sign that deal and only stays for another year, then it's protecting his value, and then it means that we can ask for that bit more when another club does come in. So, but I know I've given a really long-winded answer here, so I'll just go, yes, I think he'll sign the contract, but no, I don't think it'll be before the end of the window.
Fair enough. Fair enough. No problem. Well, thank you again. Thank you for everybody for joining. We really appreciate you watching. Again, if you want to see more of Tom, he's done a whole video on this channel. So first link in the description down there. Actually, do you know what? Why don't you just ask the guest to plug? Tom, where's your channel? Where can the people find you?
Right, yeah, so I'm quite new to this game, right? But yeah, so my channel is Foxes and Fantasy, and as the name implies, it's kind of evenly split between Leicester content and fantasy football stuff. Obviously, while we've been going, I've had my eye on the latest scores, seeing what points are coming in. But yeah, whether you're into Leicester or fantasy football, both, yeah, come and check out what I'm doing.
Yeah, brilliant. Well, yeah, thank you. Well, thank you for coming. Everybody, if you could like, subscribe on the video, all that good stuff, and we'll see everybody for the post-match after West Ham. So thank you very much, and see you later. Good.